Hey guys, Terence and Paul here.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, we didn't get the intro for some reason. I don't know. It must be that we're kind of in a new zone here.
Yeah, we've kind of set things up, and
Went back to the way it was originally.
Yeah, back to fireside chat mode.
Exactly.
We need to get some more suitable fireside chat chairs, don't you think?
I think we're going to do away with the table most times.
Table's gone.
And we're going to go back to the club chairs like I had when Ryan was in your spot.
Yeah, I was like, oh, you had the club chairs for Ryan. Then Paul gets on for Let's Talk Reef, and we got to go back to the plastic chairs. Is that how it works?
Pretty much, because those chairs came from my bedroom at my house.
Yeah,
and Nancy wanted them back.
Nah, she was fine.
No.
They could stay at Neptune.
They had to go back.
I'm sure that's the conversation.
So now we're on the lookout for some really good Ames chairs. If anybody has a hookup for some really great Ames chairs, you want to donate to the Let's Talk Reef cause, we'd really appreciate that here. I don't know that all of the super chats are going to pay for some Ames chairs, but we're all good for it. So you guys are already chatting it up. Rosano and Phil Rizzuto just wrote us a paragraph there.
Wow,
that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Ken is in here from Saltwater Aquarium.
Phil, I'll PM you after the live stream. I can't wait to get your ticket number and figure that all out for you.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to figure that out. So here we are. We've got the sky behind us back here, the trident over there. So look at that. I did that even though it's like behind me, like I'm actually on the news or something.
Yeah.
We also have the sky down in front of us here. We're going to talk about some of that stuff in the show here today. We've actually got broken
down things.
So, but the big news, obviously, is this is the first time we've done a Let's Talk Reef, right, since the merger. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit of news went underneath the radar,
So we didn't have Paul on at the last show. We had Ryan on, so he kind of had precedent, Paul.
It was you guys had a good introduction. I really enjoyed him and Randy's live stream a couple days later, that addressed some things that came up during that. And, as we've kind of been saying the whole way, so far, smooth sailing, right?
It's business as usual here at Neptune Systems, that much I can tell you. Obviously, there's a lot of goings-ons to try to coordinate the integration between the companies and whatnot.
Yeah.
But as far as our customers, our products, our support, everything else, it's pretty much just been business as usual.
That's what we've been doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we hope there's some great things in the future out of this. We think there will be. I know that there is Ryan out there talking about all kinds of stuff that he wants to do.
He's a visionary.
Yeah.
He's got vision, and I'm excited to be teamed up with the Bulk Reef Supply team, and continuing the great things we've been doing.
Definitely going to be a good ride, and it was interesting how it all kind of coincided with the sky too. It wasn't planned that way.
Yeah.
It's funny. A lot of people, I saw some comments saying, well, they coordinated that whole thing with the sky, and then on top of that, I'm sure Ryan was inventing the sky 2 years ago, and has been working on with him all the way up to the end.
It's like we had this, we had a crystal ball, and we could see everything, and it's just all these funny things that people start to, plan obsolescence, all these sorts of different things that people put out there. You're like, no.
Yeah. I know.
I wish I could plan it that well, but honestly,
there's this big conspiracy.
But,
But it's been about a week since we had the big release on the sky, so people could start shipping it last Monday. Got into customers' hands. Got into a lot of customers' hands over the weekend. That's what we're going to spend most of our time talking about today is the sky. We'll get to all that in a minute. But first, we do have a show coming up this week.
We do.
We are not doing the giant booth like we always do, but we're going to be at Aquashella in Chicago.
It's not the Neptune booth.
Yes, it's not the giant booth.
It's, we're part of one of our partners.
Yeah, with Gingerbread Corals. So Gingerbread Corals in Chicago has been so nice to have us there with his booth, or with their booth, because they're twins, right?
Great resellers, super engaged, and has a really nice coral.
Yeah.
They really...
They bring it.
Bring it,
and they're a couple of kids, too. I say that with the nicest heart.
I love that, right? They're hungry, and they're always wanting to learn more.
I think they're 18 the first time I met them in Dallas, Aquashella, and now they've got a big old store in Chicago at like 21 years old.
I love that.
So props to them.
I just love that.
100%. So
big display tank. There'll be skies, all that.
Are we having a big display tank?
There's a tank.
Is there? Okay.
Big, whatever, but there's a tank. It'll have skies on it. You'll be able to see it in person.
Go to Aquashella in Chicago. Aquashella is definitely a super cool show to go to. It's more than just frags and manufacturers. They have all sorts of art installations. They're going to have a frag off. They're going to have an aquascaping contest. They're going to have a aqua crib. They do all of that stuff. So if you're in Chicago area, definitely go to Aquashella and check it out. Also, one other big deal that's coming up. Obviously, all the skies are pretty much sold out everywhere. Okay.
Yeah.
And dealers are clamoring to get more.
Yeah.
And we have a new kind of setup which has scared some of the local fish stores a little bit, which is we're now together with Bulk Reef Supply, you know, e-commerce giant. What's going to happen to the local fish store
right?
in terms of, you know, their margin, getting supply, etc. And I'm happy to basically say that we understand that, and we understand the importance of the local fish store to the entire hobby, to the business of not just Neptune Systems, but even Bulk Reef Supply as well. As for some of you, it may seem super ironic that the e-commerce place wants to have local fish stores not just survive, but really
thrive.
Really thrive
Yeah.
in the business. So in that respect, we're actually shipping the next group of skies only to brick and mortar.
Exclusively to brick and mortar will be the next round of skies.
It's a large group too. It's a large group. It is about 3/4 of all of the sky that we'll have available in the next allotment, the next shipment out of here will go to the local fish stores, and that next part of the allotment will go to e-commerce shortly thereafter. About a week later, we'll have the next little group available. So it's definitely going to be good for all the local fish stores and even some of the medium-sized ones that are in our dealer list.
Right. So if you are looking to get a sky, number one, right, make sure that you contact your Neptune Systems reseller, your local fish store. Let them know that you're interested. Our dealers are super excited about this allotment that's going to be reserved exclusively for them, so they're going to be ready to go.
I mean, that means you will be able to go to the store and possibly get one, and you'll go on your phone and you'll see that, you know, Bulk Reef Supply is out of stock.
Yes.
Saltwateraquarium.com is out of stock. Those guys are going to be out of stock because we pushed the local fish stores first.
Right. And I think, you know, it's going to be the kind of the philosophy is let's grow, let's make everyone better together, you know, and that's a big thing that you know, we're all in for.
100%.
Yeah.
So the entire show today is really dedicated to some topics on the sky. First of all, the buzz around the sky pre-purchase and after purchase by different kinds of people has been amazing.
You know, I mean, overall, we had a lot of skies go out in the last week or so. And generally, it's been an incredibly positive experience, wouldn't you say?
There's a lot of passion. There's a
yeah.
lot of passion on all sides of this. And I will say that, you know, all truth be told, there's definitely a situation where the premium lights of the market, and specifically we're talking about AI and ecotech here, let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
They have been the Coca-Cola of the industry for quite some time in this space,
yeah.
and rightly so. They have a great product.
Yeah, and I mean, people people even are passionate about those two lights, right? Which one is better? Which one fits better?
For sure.
Know? And I think anyone's going to be like that, right?
Yeah, and so what has happened now is I think you're actually now, because we're in the same space, you're now creating more of this environment of like Ford versus Chevy, Coke versus Pepsi, where you didn't quite have that before.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of passion out there. I mean, on all sides of this one, there's a lot of passion. That's the best way to put it.
And I mean, I think that it's inspiring, right? In a certain degree, right? Of seeing so many people out there have positive experiences. And what's going to be great about all these early adopters is 3 or 4 months from now, I can't wait to see kind of the feedback at that point.
Oh.
Right? When they start seeing the results.
Well, because we know, because it's not new. Like for a lot of people, this is brand new.
Yeah.
Even for a lot of the doubters out there, this is brand new, and understandably so. There's a lot of doubt. I totally get that. For us, who have been running it on successful SPS reef tanks for quite some time here in the office, and for some of the other NSI people that have been running it for well over 6 months, some 8 months or more. Yeah, we know, we're passionate about it, and we're happy to see, you know, like Jim Hill out here who said, loving my skies. So
Great.
all through the weekend especially, I was loving to see some of those comments.
Yeah, it was very reinforcing to see, and that me on a customer experience side, people generally had great experiences too, right? In terms of the support we received was very little, support inquiries and things of that nature, and the out-of-box experience, a lot of thought was put into it,
right?
And it seemed to work for the most part. We'll talk a little bit about what probably didn't work so well.
The other side of that is some stuff that I want to talk on because I want to be honest as I possibly can about this particular subject. When it comes to the internet, there are some pretty harsh people out there.
No.
Yes, and I don't know. A little part of me wonders who their mothers are. I mean, I really do, because I'll give you a kind of a broad example. Over the weekend, there was a couple of people out there who got their Sky, who put them over their tank, right, and who, rightly so, were proud of their purchase, proud of how awesome their reef tank looked, and everything about it.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw a couple of positive comments in there, and then you saw a bunch of people making comments. It's like, wow, if they only last. Wow, if they do this, and it's like,
why do you gotta be that guy?
Yeah,
right. And it's the same names over and over and over
many
again,
times it is the same names. And here's the thing, right? Like celebrities, I don't support them not getting poo-pooed on because they're celebrities, right?
Yeah.
We're manufacturers of product. We got thick skin. We don't mind getting poo-pooed on for the most part.
Yeah.
Okay? But some poor guy who buys a product and who loves it, it's like this. It's like my brother-in-law drives up in a brand new Jetta. Okay? He's never had a new car before in his life.
First new car purchase.
First new car ever. Okay?
And he was excited about it.
Right. And this is hypothetical, by the way.
Yeah.
But he drives up in his brand new Jetta. He hops out. He polishes the front fender, right? Like this. Walks around a couple of times like this. Walks up to the front porch. The father comes out, right? Looks at it and goes, "Hey, there's a recall on those, right?" And it's like, really? You got to do that?
Yeah, it's very similar to that, and I hate the idea of moderating speech. I hate the idea of like silencing folks and things like that. Terence and I have always come at the perspective of being very light-handed in those matters.
Absolutely.
We really leave it to our moderators, right? In terms of what they allow, what they don't allow, and we encourage them also to be light-handed. But just try to be positive.
Yeah.
For just a little.
If you want to take it to Paul, take it to Paul. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. Okay. But these poor guys out there
my fault,
on the groups, we want to have a happy time and people enjoy their stuff and everything. And if that's not where you want to be and what you want to do, just go somewhere else. And again, on other stuff, you want to talk about you don't like our stuff or whatever, totally with it. But on the poor guy who posts, all right, we've kind of beat that.
Okay. All right.
Anyway.
Be nice. That's a big thing. Just be nice.
Yeah, be nice.
If you have constructive feedback, thank you.
Yeah.
Exactly. So.
Okay, so there's a few themes that we saw over the last 7 days, and we want to touch on some of those here today. I'm going to write another one down here.
He just thought of something, folks.
Yeah,
this is what happens.
Before I forget
right
about
at the
this
last
one.
moment, he'll tell you, "Oh, I've got this great idea."
I did write this whole.
Yeah, you've actually
punch list.
You got a Beats punch list for me, which is it's
so
we're moving forward.
The first thing to talk about, we put a lot of time and effort into a new interface, a new setup, a new way to walk through, and it absolutely, when you do run it, is, in my opinion, one of the most revolutionary ways of setting up a light in terms of ease of use.
If there's one common theme I saw all over the weekend and the week was just, wow, right? Like, this actually was really easy to set up.
If they found it.
Yes.
Okay, so here's the deal. I don't know, did anybody bring me one of those sheets in
Vincent, go get a card, please.
Vincent, where's the get started card? So we want to get on that. But
we forgot, sorry.
But we'll kill some time in the meantime. So for a lot of people setting up lights, up till now, the setup process has been plug it in, run an app, and then kind of go with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of figure it out. And so we spent a lot
what would be the right setting? How do I turn the on and off times? How many points should I have? All of these sorts in in a light graph, if you will.
Right, and for a lot of the lights too, you weren't walked through the process, right? It was just like you just landed there, and so that was one of the key things we wanted to do is spread spectrum and simple.
Thank you, Vincent.
Yeah, there you go. So hold that up there, Paul.
Okay, so you open up your sky.
You take the sky out.
You take the sky out of the box, and you are presented with this ginormous card.
It is
like literally
so hard to miss.
Literally, I mean, there's the box, and there's the card, guys.
So you might think that we're complaining about users right now, but in fact, what I'm complaining about is us, because we actually missed the boat here. That the one thing that a person would have to do here, that now they should be super familiar with, because to get your menu now, it's here's your menu.
You want to go out to eat?
Yeah.
You know how to use QR
that they
codes?
would actually do this as the first thing when they open their box and go right through this incredible curated, methodology.
Setup experience, yeah. And so
a number of them did not. Most of them did, but a number of them did not.
And I think it all kind of comes back to this place of I want to plug it in, right? And this concept of when you get something new, you plug it in. That's the first thing you do. If you, based on what your firmware was on your Apex or any of those number of things, that may or may not have worked out well for you.
Well, do you remember the DOS?
Yes.
So DOS was one of the ones where the first time we had like some sort of card or some sort of get started or go where do you go get the manual?
But it was like this. It was like
it was tiny, right?
Yeah.
But the first, I remember seeing the first video, the first unboxing video of the guy. Yeah, it was just literally whoosh. Oh,
boomerang.
Not like that.
That would cost paper cuts, but
that was what they did. So that's what people are doing with 20% of them.
And I colorful, and we put color into it. We didn't skimp on the color, any of those things to make it look attention grabbing. But we need to have something where you plug it in and it just works.
There's got to be even a simpler way, and we kind of get that. But you know what? That said, I want Paul to take us through exactly how easy it is. What do I need to do?
Just give me the card.
Oh, you're going to do the card again.
So I'll just get to the parts where we've already kind of done. So let's say I just scanned to the code and I updated my Apex Fusion app. So I'm right here on this big colorful screen, or if I'm going Bluetooth, I would be following this mode here if I never had an Apex. So let's say I have an Apex, but I want to set up this Sky Bluetooth. It's very easy to do this. Are we on?
Vincent's there.
All right, cool. So there's this new button in the bottom right-hand corner that says new, right? Wow, it's got a red box on it. I'm going to click it. And you can say at that point you want to try the new UI, or you're setting up a Sky.
Now here's the problem that people had. The ones that had a problem already is that they didn't have the latest app, right? And so and they didn't follow that, and so they were immediately dropped into the dashboard.
Right.
So the key part here is get the latest app.
And there is a task that sets this up as well, but it is not nearly as curated as this app setup experience is. So let's say we want to set up a new Sky, right? And at this point, I'm going to set this up Bluetooth, right? So I'm going to go New Aquarium, and then I can call it whatever I want. Let's call it a reef tank, for example. And let's say it's an Innovative Marine INT 75, right? This way we can know the dimensions of your tank.
So this is a whole new way that we're dealing with the setup for all things Apex, and this is the first real product where you see this now come to life. So you should see over the next months many changes coming to the interface, and a lot of it is around this idea
of what the size of your aquarium is, what your water volume is, all of these sort of different things. And you can do a custom tank, right? If you want to put in, if it's a custom made tank, water box, Red Sea, etc. But let's say that's how I want to set it up. I click on Reef Tank. Then we have these great videos, right? One thing we do want to point out here is make sure you really push that in. Right?
Yeah, so the actual connection, we don't have one up here on the other side, but the actual connection to this, it slides back when it goes in. If you push really hard, it'll just click, and you'll kind of hear it click, and you'll know it's in there, because if you go to pull out, right, it won't
move.
Yeah, it won't move.
So then we say that, all right, then you can connect it up to a power outlet. You can connect it up to an EV832, just make sure the power is always on. That's something we overlooked as well. We did not. People thought that the outlet would be programmed just as it is. In the future, I think we will make sure that we program those outlets always on if you connect it up to an EB832.
Yep.
And then finally, when the light is provisionable, right, or when it can be picked up, it's going to be flashing blue rapidly. Okay. You look at the light, and if you say you say done, you can say I don't see the flashing light, which then will drop you off on some steps to make sure to reset the light to factory settings or any of those number of things. But I haven't heard anyone not having that situation. So then, you know, we had searches for skies in the area. Production's all gone for the day, so I don't have like 30 skies here, you know. But
Yeah.
in the setup video, I was doing it during runtime, and there were quite a number of videos of skies
While they're
there.
testing all of them.
Right, and so this sky is just sitting right next to me here. And it's provisioning the light, and then I can make sure that I'm connected. So a good thing to do is just to turn that on and off. I don't know if you guys have seen this like awesome glow behind me today. That's not just my aura. That is that is actually a skylight. So we can identify, and it's turning on and off, and those kind of things. So then I can click continue, and then it's really simple. When do you want to turn on? Oh, are we not in stream mode? Sorry.
Yeah, Vincent.
I'll go back a second. Oh, it dropped?
Hang on.
All right. Technical difficulty.
Yes. It'll come back in a second, right, Vincent?
All right, great. So then we're asking very simple questions. When you want the light to turn on, right? Then the sky is over your tank right now, and then you have the ability to go through these curated setups. So we have the Neptune sky look, which is a very white look, but enough blue in my opinion.
Right.
Right.
We kind of figured what we like here and called that the Neptune sky look.
And then a coral growth mode. These are essentially all the channels up to 100%.
Right.
Photo mode you probably wouldn't run as a normal like configuration mode, but then
the key thing here is that you set when you want it to start. You choose one of these settings. You choose.
You have a brightness option, right? So you can choose how high up and down you want that to go. And you'll notice that these are all very iOS native and everything like that. And then you can go to a very blue mode if that's what you prefer as well. Finally, if you know what's best, you can customize the color and go from there. And you'll be even able to save different customized colors here in some future iterations of
Yeah, not too far out. We'll have a way that you'll be able to save and share.
So let's say I just want to be in the Neptune sky look, right? And I hit continue. When I want my lights to turn off. And then moonlight mode. Do you want your moonlights always on? You know, do you want your moonlights only on when after the lights turn off and before the lights turn on? So when you walk down at 2 a.m. in the morning to your living room, you're not going to see your moonlights on.
Right.
But you would see them on at 7 a.m. or so.
At the shoulder, yeah. Shoulder hours.
And then we'll have seasonal lighting options. We left that coming soon because we're going to be doing some cool stuff for seasons. And if you don't want any moonlights, of course, you can say disable. And then basically
that's it.
Prepares everything. It's got the configuration mode. We have been known to have control freaks out there in the world, right?
That don't want it so simple.
That don't want it so simple. And so there's this great option up here in the top right-hand corner called Reef Pro. So if you wanted to configure this all to yourself and do different points and things like that, you would have the ability to change any of those points.
What mode it's in, what color looks like, what the intensity is, all of that.
So if I wanted to go down there for some reason, or if I wanted to add a point, right, I can add a point and then drag and drop that wherever I want it to go, you know? So you can add these different modes. Live preview also is, if you're doing this at night and you don't want your lights on, you can actually turn that preview option on or off, so while you're adjusting things, the lights aren't actually going on and off at your tank.
I didn't know that one.
Right? I do prefer the simple scheduler, and then finally I just.
So with the simple scheduler too, it's not just turning them on and turning them off. There's actually a built-in ramp there. That how long is the ramp? Like an hour or 2 hours? How long is the ramping up and ramping down?
The ramp up is an hour.
Okay.
And so we start from a very blue, right? Like you would probably want to see.
Like most
people would. Then we go to your midday intensity. Right, we stay at your midday intensity, and then about an hour and a half we have sunset, right, where it goes from a nice midday down to the blue.
And then if you have more than one sky, it'll actually group them here, and you'll see a little number next to the word sky
indicating a number
up
of skies, right? And it's really easy if you get new lights. You know, you have all these different options here where you can do add and remove lights very simply. So if you don't want a light to be a part of something anymore because you want to run that differently on your frag tank, you have the ability to do that. If you want to add more lights because you thought you needed more, you have the ability to do that.
Excellent.
So, and it works exactly the same way in Apex Fusion, right?
So yeah, I was just going to ask you. So if you're running these through the Aquabus port and into the Apex, the setup is identical, right?
Right, exactly. So here is my tank here at the office, right? And you can see that same feature set.
You saw the little number up there too. Why? Because you have more than one over that tank, or
exactly in this
okay.
in this example here. And it's really, and a lot of people have said, oh, I don't like this whole new homepage.
Right.
It is a new beta UI, right?
Right.
And I don't even really want to use that word beta because we have so many things planned that we're going to continue to roll into this. But if you want to use, oh wow, my Agent A is empty. But if you want to use, you know, the dashboard, you can. And at the end of the day, if you don't like it,
yeah, you can go back and turn it off.
Hit those 3 lines and go to beta UI. And now you're back to your...
And if you want to get to it, you can click the new again and go right back to it.
Yeah.
So, and there is a question here about dark mode. So in the new one, dark mode works different, right?
Yes. So in the new mode, so you had the ability in the old app to be able to specify if you wanted to have dark mode or light mode.
Right.
This would work outside of the options that you would have set in your phone. So now what we do though is we just use whatever your phone settings are.
So it automatically changes with how your phone is set
up.
So
if your phone is set to always light mode, right, you're going to be in light mode in the app. If your phone is set to always dark mode, it's always going to be dark mode. If you have light mode during the day, dark mode during the night,
it's going to switch on you.
It's going to follow that. Yeah.
Very good. So I think that was super simple. We also obviously have Android that we're doing this. This was the iOS setup.
Yes, yeah.
And the Android at this point is just about ready to go full release. I mean, literally in a couple of days. It's going to go full release, but right now it's in an open beta out there in the store, in the Apple. Apple.
We've been running, you know, we've been working on an Android app for some time, and we've done a lot of things in order to make that time change between an Android and an iOS release to be as close as possible together. But with that being said, the Android marketplace, if you will, it has a lot of variability.
Yeah, there's a lot of different devices, a lot of different versions of phones, and then on top of that, you have people that root their phones, and then you have all these different variations. So it's there's a lot more testing involved on our part to get it going.
And if we were to roll out a new app and it were to break it for 30% of our customers, well, that would be a bad thing, right? So at this point, what we have done is we have opened that app into what you basically call an open beta. And in that open beta, you have the ability to opt in to the beta app or opt out. This allows you to have both beta app in the store and the production app in the store.
So you can run both at the same time.
Well, not necessarily both at the same time, but you have the ability to
download
the beta app, and if it doesn't work because of your chipset or your phone or whatever else, it's very easy to roll back. I have a forum post on how to detail how to do this where you can join in. The big thing is there's a link in that forum post that makes it really easy to get the beta app.
So if you want, first of all, if you have a Sky and you're on Android, you'll need to do this, right? Second of all, if you want to experience that new kind of front panel interface that we have with that new beta UI in the front, and you're on Android, then you would do this. Otherwise, all the rest of the Android users just hang tight until we have a release.
Hang tight. If you want to test stuff out, feel free to jump in. You know, we're testing it with all of our NSI, but I mean, again, it's that variability in that Android marketplace, and you know, there's iterations out there that we definitely haven't seen yet.
Yeah, for sure.
So I do encourage you, if you are that type, to go to the forum post there and check it out. There is a way to do it without looking at that forum post, but you have to be an Android person and know what you're doing to be able to get there. And I felt that this was probably the easiest way to do it. So.
Okay. So next topic I'm going to hit on, I'm going to kind of peel back the onion a little bit because there's a lot of
onions.
Yes, we're going to peel back the Sky case, okay?
Oh.
Yeah, we're actually going to I guess
we're going to do a teardown?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think we're going to get in front of reef builders on this one maybe.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I mean,
well, maybe not to that level of I don't know, maybe he's going to desolder some stuff. I don't know, but but maybe not. But what I do want to do is you know, there's a few kind of myths out there. We obviously have detractors. Every company has detractors. And there's plenty of myths out there. And the biggest myth that somewhat gets on me a little bit is that somehow or another this product came directly over from China and we slapped our label on it, or directly over from Holland and we slapped our label on it. And you read that over and over again, and especially when you work with a lot of these really good people who bust their butt all the time to make things. It really is nails on a chalkboard to see it and to hear it over and over and over again. So I'm gonna dig in a little bit so you guys can really know what the real story is on some of this stuff, as transparent as I can possibly make it. For the people that are on our side out there, I know you guys will know that it's coming from the heart and truthful. And for those who happen to be detractors, well, they're going to believe what they want to believe. Okay,
they'll be able to poke holes in whatever they want to poke holes
or
make happen, right?
So this is the inside of a Sky. Okay, just so you know. So this is the top portion of it. Okay,
and it doesn't come assembled like this. We build it like this.
Yes, yes. I thought you were going to tell them it doesn't come assembled. You have to assemble your own Sky.
Yeah, exactly.
It comes just like this. Anyway, so this is the Sky. It's got an aluminum heatsink. Okay, this particular aluminum heatsink, it's all designed by us. In fact, I was involved in helping design the heatsink itself. So
a lot of time was spent on that.
When I read some of this stuff, it's just kind of funny, right? As well. But so there's the heatsink. It's got 2 fans on it. I'm going to talk about the fans here in a little bit. There's not much else, magical to see on the top.
So this is the assembled version, right? It has, and essentially what's inside of this case is what we see right here.
So now what happens with these fans is the air, comes in from the top. Okay, which is the best way to go about it, because you're least likely to pull in bad stuff, like basically spray.
Right.
So early versions of LEDs, many of them had fans on the bottom of them. In fact, I think even the G4, didn't the G4 have a fan on the bottom?
We have a G4 diffuser here, so that
I don't know if it went in or out, but one of them used to go in, the other one went out. It was. Anyway, the fans on the bottom, generally probably not a great idea if you can avoid it, so we put them on the top. And what happens is that this pushes all the air as it's coming in, because there's a top on the lid. I don't know if I have a lid back here too.
You do. Here, I have the lid for you.
Oh, no, that's not the lid.
Okay.
That's the bottom. But it channels the air, right? The cool air that's coming in, it channels it all through this heatsink to cool this down. And then there's vents on the front and back. So there's 2 vents on the front and 2 vents on the back, and it shoots the air straight down towards the water. And that's how the cooling system is designed. The fans themselves, as I said, it's interesting because there's a lot of talk about fans. There was a lot of talk about fans on I think the Radion's G5 when they came out with it. When we went to choose what fans to use, the first thing that mattered the most is how do we make this as silent as we possibly can, because that was a big deal for
silence
people.
was paramount.
And so we tried
silence, weight, among other things. Right?
Oh yeah, a lot of different things, right? Weight, absolutely. But we tried putting one fan in the middle, and to get it cool enough, right, it meant we'd have to have the RPM spin way too much.
Yes, and then what happens then?
And if you have one fail too, then you don't have any. So we decided to go with 2 fans. We looked actually investigated with the same manufacturer that makes the one on the Radion, believe it or not. But we tried them out. We tried, because you've probably seen them on like your, interestingly enough, your Radion with an E. Gaming graphics cards, right? You'll see the same kind of fans. They've got a little circle around the outside.
Yeah, basically there's a circle on the outside. It's one piece instead of all the blades being
with a lot more smaller little blades in kind of it. So we tried those actually, and they weren't as quiet.
Yeah.
So we ended up with these particular fans. These fans on here are ball bearing fans. They're brushless fans. They're speed controlled fans. So we actually control the speed. And because we have 2 fans and a lot more CFM with 2 fans than 1 at a lower RPM, we're actually able to run them slower. Slower means quieter.
Yes, and that ultimately was the big goal there in terms of the user experience, right?
Correct.
Keeping the light cool enough so we have the good thermal management, but also making sure that coolness wasn't going to affect your experience.
The circuit boards on the entire Sky are all there's actually 3 boards. One of them is not shown here. It's in the lid. That's the one that has the Wi-Fi in it. It's up where the plastic is, so that you can get really good coverage. And we are getting really great coverage out of that.
What we're seeing so far in terms of connectivity on the Bluetooth has been exceptional. I haven't heard of a lot of people having any issues of not being able to connect to it when they're in their home. And that's because that Wi-Fi chip is completely separated from that metal housing.
It's not near any of the metal heatsink, really. So the two boards on this part is obviously the LED driver board and then a power supply board that all the power comes in and does all of its magic there. Now, again, where is this stuff made? Well, it's made here in the United States of America.
Right here in San Jose.
Do we have a a circuit board pick and place line with all of that stuff? No, we don't. But we're also in an area.
We're in Silicon Valley. So we have a lot of resources available to us.
And we have a partner we've used for the longest time up in San Jose to do a ton, most of our board manufacturing for quite a number of years. So for those who think that's made in China, sorry. Now, the components, some of them are made in the Philippines, Malaysia, Singapore, who knows
where. They come from everywhere,
all around the world.
Just like all parts do,
Exactly. So that's how that is. Right. Then there is
the real business.
Where the business end of this is, where all your LEDs are. Again, all of your LEDs, there's different manufacturers of the LEDs. I can't remember who all of them are off the top of my head, but I don't know if they're Osrams or Crees. They're Crees.
Crees. We have varieties.
Yes, there's a variety of different ones in here. And I'll talk about one of them in particular in a moment. Many people have mentioned, like, well, you just stick a diffuser plate in front of some LEDs and then you pretty much have the sky. If it were only that easy to do, right? So the Sky uses this acrylic plate to mix all of the LEDs together. That's one of the kind of pieces that gives you that nice even coverage that you see from the LED. And in addition to the regular driving LEDs on here, there are two bicolored moonlight LEDs.
Right, so those are here and here.
Yeah.
Right?
No, they're right here and right there. Yeah. Now, this acrylic plate, I believe this acrylic plate, we do these in-house as well. We have a laser cutting machine, is that right? Or no?
Not this part, no.
Not this one, a different one?
This part comes from an acrylic manufacturer.
Oh, that's right. We get this one done by a third party. Right. That's right. A third party puts this one together. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. The what you have below this acrylic plate is the actual LED PCB. I don't know if you can actually see that.
That's a good point too. So there's two things here too. Yeah. So that the acrylic plate is actually a sandwich of clear and white, so that it gets the most reflectivity out of that panel.
So it's clear on this side.
And then it's sandwiched in there with the aluminum PCB, which is needed to transfer the heat from all the LEDs into the heat sink. And then on top of that, because we wanted to protect against water that might roll from the top and on the inside and get down in between these two boards, there's actually a gasket that runs around the outside of this board.
Yes.
So I'm talking about peeling back the onion, huh?
That's basically how it all...
And this goes into the other part, and then a little tiny ribbon cable connects up to the circuit board here for the button and the Wi-Fi communication and all of that. And that's how it works. So next thing I want to talk about is a couple of those LEDs. So there's a big discussion out there on the internet about UV. Okay, as if this is some new thing, newfangled thing with UV and where LED lights are with UV and what the Sky does and what everybody else does.
Lots of graphs going around.
There's a lot of graphs going around. And so I wanted to kind of explain a couple of things with the Sky in regards to that so that people understand where we're coming from. First of all, in talking with Dana, and you guys probably saw Dana was on here, and I've talked to Dana on the phone a couple of times since then and read a few things. And his take on the whole UV thing is it's way overblown, right? And especially when you start talking about, do you need 380 nanometers, UV, and especially at the intensities that any light that has, it has. And I'm sure right now everybody's going to say this is Terence giving hype and trying to cloud everything. But I'm just telling you what Dana told me, and Dana's way bigger expert on this than me.
I mean, at a certain point, you always just say, I will defer to those of knowledge who have dedicated their lives and all of their time to these sorts of things. And Dana, if you don't know, he is one of the reefing gurus of lighting.
Yes.
Right. He's been around for so many years. He manages the Reef to Reef forum in terms of the lighting area.
He is the moderator and the guy on Reef to Reef's lighting forum. So the real discussion point that's been out there as far as the Sky is like, oh, it doesn't have UV because it has, a peak at 402 nanometer or whatever it may be.
403, whatever.
403, 405, whatever it may be. And so I wanted to get into that a little bit just so you guys know where we're coming from on this UV. so that you understand it from the perspective of the graph of where UV is, and on the perspective of not what we say is UV, but what manufacturers do. So let's pull up the first graph here so that people can see this. This is a graph showing obviously the spectrum and showing basically the LEDs, 3 of the LEDs that happen to be out there, kind of the ones to go to in terms of UV LEDs. And you see the one far to the right, that's the one that's a 405 nanometer LED. And it is called a UV LED, which I'll show you guys in a minute. And the reason for that is because it rides right there at 400 nanometers, which below you can see that's where they call UVA. And so part of the graph actually is to the left of 400 nanometers, and therefore the manufacturer, not us, calls that UV.
UV light.
So part of it is UV, part of it is closer on the violet side. It just depends on where you are. But it is called a UV LED. Now some will argue this point, I am sure. So Vincent, can you go to the next slide? So here's I just happened to pull one up. You guys can go pull up a bunch of different manufacturers' LEDs in the UV space. Here's this one in particular. It'll be on there. You guys can go look it up. This is a UV LED, mid-power UVA LED, 405 nanometer, plus or minus 5, okay? So there you can see that one is barely, I mean, at the tail end of it, it's sitting at 400, but they call it UV. The next one, let's see the next one, Vincent. So here's another one that's up here. I think this is King Power or something like that. And it's another one that is a UVA LED, and it's at 405 nanometers. And that's the exact place where the LEDs are that we have in this particular light.
In that 405 nanometer, 400
yes.
nanometer range.
And if you think that we're unique in that aspect, okay, I would tell you that we absolutely are not in terms of calling it UV. We did not make this up. We did not start this. It is not some special plan that Terence created to trick you all into thinking we have UV.
It's all hype.
So pull the next slide up. Here is the Radion. Okay, so this is the Radion. It's a great light.
Great light.
The G5, I've often said, is probably the first Radion light I would put over my tank because it's a great light. And here you can see they list off all their LEDs, and voila, look at that. You've got 405 nanometer UV LEDs, and strangely enough, nobody seemed to call them out. I don't know, maybe as much. They have 415 nanometer UV LEDs.
I can't remember at the release of this product that anyone even brought this up at all.
Yeah, I don't remember it.
Maybe I'm more maybe we're more hypersensitive to it now. I'm not sure.
I guess.
You know, but you know,
Vincent needs a raise, they said. Good job, Vincent, man. We're giving you some props, buddy.
Looking good.
Absolutely. So anyway, I mean, this is not for us to try to be defensive, but I'm confused. I'm confused at where this comes from because
I think it's
all the really popular lights that are growing corals, everything out there.
People that are having very good success.
That are having great success for many years, even in the T5 stuff, et cetera, it's 400 nanometers and above.
Yeah.
So I don't know where it's all coming from.
There are lights that do have below that range, but again, what's the benefit there?
Yeah.
You know.
We don't. I don't
I'm not
even
saying
know that.
I don't even know. I
don't either. And but I know what's been growing corals in my tank.
Yeah.
So I don't have to doubt anything.
All I can say, yes, exactly. It seems to be working, whatever it is that we're doing.
So there was that one. So another one that's a little bit confusing that's out there was about the diffuser.
Right.
So this is an interesting one as well. So when we showed off the Sky for the first time, and in fact even when I think Mark Levinson showed off the Sky, we discussed that the diffuser plate in the Sky is intentionally left loose. Okay, so pick it up, show people.
So see this?
And
see
people
it moving around
like,
in there? Oh
that must be bad quality.
That's so bad quality. Why would they do that?
So the fact is that
it must be a mistake.
Yeah, it must be a mistake. It was actually
it was an oversight.
It's actually designed that way because the light itself weighs 4 pounds.
Yeah.
And when people pick something up that is big like this with a lot of pounds, they're going to press underneath.
Yeah.
And if you restrict the edges with this very small bezel that we have around here, the likelihood possible for somebody to snap something that's in there or crack the diffuser itself we felt was kind of high.
Right.
Because we tried restricting it on some of them, and it was potential
pretty
problem.
It was pretty easy to break, especially if you wanted to do it.
So we ascertained
haphazardly.
Yeah, so we ascertained that the best thing to do would be to treat it very similar to other lighting solutions that we've seen for many, many years around our homes, around our businesses, et cetera, that use diffusion panels. Vincent's actually got a picture of one of them right here. Yeah, throw that out there, Vincent. That raise? So here's I think if any of you on here has not seen this, I don't know where you've been, but this is a lighting panel that has an acrylic diffusion refraction panel in it that just floats in there. It floats in a track.
And guess what? When you touch it,
it goes up.
It goes up. It moves, right? And on top of that, right?
So this is the next part of our confusion was, I'll get this one, you get that one.
Okay.
So when we've been using these, because we have a few of these around our office, right?
I definitely prefer these lights with the diffuser.
Correct.
You know?
Absolutely, 100%. We had the same thing happen.
Wow, I'm touching it, and it's moving.
And it lifted up. And anyway.
It's how these panels work, right?
Here's another thing to note too, just so you know, we spent a lot of time, we can go back to the full screen, Vincent, on deciding on what diffuser panel to use. And this is the one that we do the laser cut on. That's why I was mistaken. Right, yeah. So we tried actually the same materials as this. You look at it when you do the engineering, and yes, we do the engineering here, to get how much occlusion is happening, what the attenuation is of the light, because you want to preserve as much of the light power that you can. And so we tried a lot of things like this, because I can assure you that in order to increase profitability, this is a way better solution than this. Yes. But ultimately, through a lot of trial and error and whatnot, we decided on this, which is an acrylic diffusion panel that we get, and then we put these sky shims holes in it so we get the shimmer out of the light.
That corresponds to where the white LEDs are on the sky board, and we laser cut those and everything here in house.
Yep.
And then we had those little lenses
Trust me,
built.
I smell it from my office.
Yeah, it's when it's laser cutting day. And we looked at a lot of different panels.
Yes, we did.
Like it was
not only for how much they attenuate the light, but also what the look is. So when you have so again, this is a great light. Don't anybody think I'm trying to crap on the light. It's a great light. But when you don't have a diffuser on this light, it creates a static pattern on the bottom, of the reef, on your sand. And the sky would do the exact same thing if it didn't have a diffuser panel. A little bit less because we have the acrylic mixing panel, but you'd still see some of that. And so when we were looking at all of these, we got all of us reef keepers here in the office, right, Paul?
Yep.
We lined them all up. We had a blind test.
Yes, it was actually a lot of fun. But we looked at what the par was based on each of the ones, and it was blind voting, of which one you thought looked best, and it was unanimously accepted that this was definitely
Correct.
The best one.
So that is the answer to the diffusion confusion.
The diffusion confusion.
Yes. Okay. So what else? We talked about the power cord connection. We talked about the fans. We talked about does it grow corals? So I saw a lot of, and rightly so, a lot of discussion out there like, hey, your light looks great, but we'll see what happens in 6 months. We'll see if it grows corals. And you know what? More power to you. That kind of skepticism, that's fine. Not a problem really.
Hey, we're the new kids on the block in terms of lighting. We get it.
But we did NSI, and we use it personally. And so obviously we're biased.
NSI started in January, right? So we started this in January, released these lights in August.
Yes.
So these were over people's tanks for many, many months.
Correct. And I think Vincent's we have Joe's tank here who's been running it second longest from Paul, I think.
Yeah.
Is this Joe's tank or Paul's tank?
This is Joe's.
This is Joe's tank. So Joe, if you've been following, and you can go back in some of the live streams if you doubt us, and see when the lights went over the tank and see the size of these corals, most all of these corals were about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. Some of them might have been 2 inches. Like some of the stuff might have come from my tank, might have been a little bit bigger that I gave to him, but most of the premium stuff, well, that's Dippin' Dots right there. He got that from my tank, and I think that was probably about an inch.
It was only like that big.
Yeah,
when
it was
you
like
gave
an
it to
inch
him,
because that was one of the more premium ones. So all these corals happened in Joe's tank in 9 months, basically, growing under the sky, no supplemental lighting at all, just the sky.
And this is in sky photo mode, Vincent? So we have photo mode here, where he's just able to...
This is straight out of your camera, right?
Yes, no filter or anything like that.
So that is the big selling point on this guy, right?
It takes great pictures, we even have a curated photo mode that really helps take care of the white balance with an iPhone to give you these really
Walt
clear
Disney?
shots. Yes.
So that's the Walt Disney. That went in as a 1-inch frag about...
From mine, it came from mine, and it was...
9 months ago?
Yeah, 9 months ago you got that, right? I got that from Vincent. Yeah. Okay, let's give credit where credit's due. Many of the great corals in my tank are from Vincent's tank.
Vincent ponies up, man.
Yeah.
I mean, these are some pretty good-looking corals, and again, straight out of the iPhone, directly into our little software here. You can see how good these corals look, growing them under the sky. And I have ultimate confidence that all of these customers, if they run a great tank, they're going to have great corals under the sky.
Yep. You make sure you keep the alkalinity, calcium, magnesium tank parameters in line. The sky will take care of its part.
Yeah, and Mohai here, Mohai Winston, thank you for the question. Does it have a default preset profile? Absolutely. We have the Neptune Sky mode. We have coral growth mode.
Any of those modes that you choose there, you will be successful with the exception of photo mode.
And speaking of modes too, so we curated different modes to try to get as close to some of the bulbs or modes in other lights or what have you. And it's as good a representation as we thought we could do. And a lot of it was done by sight. Some of it was done by using some of the graphs and spectrometer and stuff. And we'll refine them over time, for sure. But to be honest, the sky was created and the LEDs were curated in such a way that if you run all channels at 100%, the most people around are going to like that look.
It definitely promotes a full spectrum, in our opinion, and the spectrum that corals need. And if you prefer more blue, you have the ability to customize that and use our sky mode. If you like a very blue mode, you have those options as well. In our opinion, right, the more full spectrum that you can give your corals, the better all-around health that they will have.
And there's some questions coming up about seasons and season table. There's a lot of features coming down the road. That's what we do. I'm sure there'll be a lot of software updates here.
So I was actually talking with Joe today about getting season stuff in there, and it's on the roadmap right now. We've got some other exciting app stuff that you'll probably see within literally weeks' time.
I also expect that very shortly the likes of Richard Ross and others, Jamie and others, will be having these lights with the season table enabled so that it's going to be coral spawn time.
Yeah.
And I think these lights are just going to rock it for coral spawning.
I do agree with that completely.
Okay, so does it grow corals? Yes. Okay.
You always got to talk about that.
Yes. That was the one I wrote down.
Yeah.
So the last thing to talk about is price. And this is a touchy one for a lot of people. And I want to get into a couple of things here on price. First of all, the hobby is not cheap.
No.
Yeah, it is not an inexpensive hobby.
No.
And this is not a bargain LED, and you certainly could light your tank, okay? I don't know, somebody could call it 50% as good, or even 70% as good, with a bargain basement LED fixture. That's not what this is, so if you're making the comparisons, that's fine.
It's, in terms of one being a product that's made in, here in the United States, developed here in the United States, software engineer here in the United States, and a company that's going to fully stand behind that product in all respects, right? That all comes with a cost.
So I'm going to do a breakdown for you guys right here because I've been wanting to do this.
This
in
is
a forum
fully
post.
Impromptu, and I wasn't expecting this part.
I'm going to do a breakdown to help all of you guys understand kind of how things are sold in the reef keeping hobby in terms of pricing and in terms of what it takes to do what we do. And we out of time? Not yet.
You've got time, but
Paul doesn't know where I'm going with this.
I'm waiting for Kurt to come in and tell me to shut it down.
Yeah, shut it down.
Man down the hall is going to come in.
So for those of you guys for those of you guys that stuck around, maybe this is going to be some great insight for you. For those of you who are detractors, basically, in terms of what a product costs and why does it cost so much, this is what I'm going to break down. Okay? So for the sake of the sky, right, it's $870, but for the sake of math, okay?
Let's call it 900.
Let's call it 900 because
Yeah.
that's what most people are calling it anyway, is
Yeah.
$900.
It's not. It's 870.
If you're telling your wife it's $800, okay? If
always
if
know
you're a
that.
detractor,
It's not. It's $1,000.
It's $1,000, okay? But we're gonna call it 900, okay?
Yeah.
And so with that, the first thing that people must understand is how a sales channel works in any industry, right? Not just ours. If you go to buy a stereo, and I saw Derek on here from Reef Automation. He's in the home automation, home audio, and whatnot. When a manufacturer like Denon goes to sell a product, right? They're selling it to distribution sells it to a store, and then the store sells it to the person, right? In the best of worlds, like how many of us here in the marine aquarium hobby is we don't have a distributor, right? We go directly to a store and then a store to an end user. So in either of those worlds, the amount of money that the people in between the manufacturer and the end user get to make,
They all get their part of the pie.
they all get part of the pie, right?
Yeah.
And that can be anywhere from 20% up to 60%, right? In this industry, it's not going to be a big mystery to you guys. It's somewhere between 20 and 35% generally. Okay.
On
high-end
gear,
products
on
that
high-end
are-
gear, it
that's in the
typically
industry.
runs in that range.
And there you go. If you didn't know that, you heard it here. Oh well, I just gave away the deep secret. Okay. The not so deep secret.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you lop 30% immediately off the top, right, or call it even 35%, well, now you're at over $300 that is going to come right off the top of that 900, and now you're at $600, right?
And that's 600. And
That-
then
that's
600 is
600.
now.
Then you have to go from the other side. What does it cost to buy all the parts, to manufacture the plastic, to amortize the cost of molds in the plastic, for the NRE for the fan grates, the NRE for the cables, the NRE for the heatsink, the NRE for all of these things.
And so NRE is what, Terrence?
Non-recoverable engineering cost.
Yes.
Okay, and basically that's just a fixed cost that you have to have just to get yourself off the ground.
Right.
And
This is the cost essentially to get this product to market, right? The cost to get the plastic molds ready so we can make these cases.
Anything that you basically have to custom tool more or less is
So
NRE.
it's not necessarily the cost of the plastic.
No, it's
the-
all the way down to the mold, for instance, on this cable that goes into the back of it, right? And so, and okay, 12-gallon nano, here's pay for advertising. I got news for you. This is how much advertising on our side there is, okay? On the BRS side or on the, saltwater aquarium side, that's a big component of their cost and where they spend their 35%, a lot of it,
Yep.
is to try to acquire customers. But now when you look at what it costs for us to build this, right, we have to get all the parts and everything. We have to have all the NRE. And so now you come up from the bottom and pick whatever number you want, because I've heard a lot of people say, well, I could build that for $300. All right, well, let's just say it's $300, okay? I'm not saying it is, I'm not saying it's not. Now you're down to the middle 300 where you have to keep the lights on, you have to pay for engineering, you have to pay for all the other stuff, and then at the end, somebody has to make a little profit.
No.
Yeah, that's the way it works. Otherwise, why does everybody do this? Anyway, so I just wanted to give that out there to people that it's a little more complicated than going to Alibaba and going, well, I can see this thing for $175. Why are you selling this for $900?
Right.
Because it's complete different worlds. Anyway, maybe I talk too much.
Well, you do, but there's always.
Oh, and thank you,
there's always
Patrick
juice.
Jewell just said too, back-end support. I didn't even mention that.
I was going to bring up
Go
the
ahead.
fusion servers, right? So we maintain the fusion servers. There is no cost for fusion. There will be no cost for fusion that I know of. Oh no, I'm just kidding.
No, please don't do that.
That's not funny.
We don't need that. That is not funny. There's no cost, and there's no cost coming
in
for fusion.
fusion, right? All those things go towards.
Yeah, and to
Towards-
support. So you have to support. We have to have support agents on hand. We have to have warranty support and all of these things. Anyway, I just wanted to give that out there for all of you guys. So if you do happen to see somebody that's like, "Wow, it's crazy," well, this is what it is.
This is why it costs what it costs.
Yep.
Right.
I hope that was insightful.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Look, Derek says Terrence talks too much. What? Yeah.
When.
When?
Never.
Right.
Any
Okay.
good comments in there, Vincent? That. Oh,
So if you do see anybody who's asking those kind of questions or wants that kind of information, now we have it in a live stream. You can send them a link to the YouTube video, and
you can
say-
timestamp these
You can
things.
timestamp exactly.
This is
where-
when Terrence talks about margin.
There you go. There you go. So anyway, thank you so much, guys. I think we have a few questions, Vincent,
Is there
before we close this out and try not to take it too long.
Yeah.
Well, clouds. How do clouds work?
Clouds work. You can only do clouds right now if you go to Apex Fusion Desktop.
Okay.
Right? Or Apex Fusion Dashboard, right? So if you're doing it on your phone, and then there is, you can go to any of the points, and then you can select, the checkbox that allows for cloud cover. That will be random cloud cover. It won't be 100% all the time, but it will come in, dim the lights down, bring them back up, and it won't be like a rolling cloud. They'll all go down, they'll all come back up again. I think down the line there could be.
Are they all doing it at the same time?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's all. It's not. It's they're all going up and down.
Kind of like the sky.
Exactly. And I think in the future you might see some changes in that. I don't like to talk too much about the kind of all the sort of cool features, if you will, or features that are kind of niche, because our engineering team has so much in their hand right now that they're not showing.
Right.
So I think you can expect some exciting things in that part too.
So if we thought that this was a good live stream and you got some detailed information, let us know in the comments below. Give us the thumbs up and all that good stuff that everybody says. We have one last piece of interesting information, which, unless something else happens to make it not happen, next week we're going to have a big...
We're having another Let's Talk Reef next week.
Another Let's Talk Reef
Let's
show.
Talk Reef, back-to-back booyahs.
And anybody who says that IOTA's dead because BRS is here and Neptune has a sky, we're going to prove you wrong next week.
Nope, not going to happen.
That's right. No walled garden here.
Yep.
All right, guys, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Join us next week, same time, Tuesday, and we'll have a good time. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. Have
All
a
right,
good one, guys.
enjoy those fish, guys. Take care.